Islam family. Gratitude for our Sister Secretary Sheik Rashid ibn for sharing with her wisdom according to her portion of understanding. To add on to her demonstration, it's very important that we as Moorish Americans develop and practice consistency to get the momentum going, to maintain the momentum, because that's the only way how we evolve, how we progress, is when we're constantly doing things, when we're constantly abiding by the laws and the literature of our Prophet through repetition. Some would say redundancy, but as it says, it is the father of learning. When we look at the concept of rituals, when we demonstrate rituals, that is a demonstration of a repetition, but it's a reminder of acknowledging Allah, of remembering Allah. In Arabic, it's called dhikr. Remember. In the Quran, it says, remember Allah at all times. Islam? As I mentioned before, we at Temple number 19, we are a grassroots temple. And in order for us to be a grassroots temple, we have to be astute in the literature of the Prophet, have a understanding or overstanding of the message that he brought to us, or that he brought to us. With all of that being said, we have to remember that the Prophet said in his Moorish literature that Islam is a simple faith. So when we begin to study ourselves and know thyself and our Father God Allah, and take those steps needed to go from belief, faith, and fruition, we have to remember that the Prophet's program, this Moorish Divine and National Movement, is simple. It is not as complex as we make it out to be. Our Prophet gave us a program that was simple, that was attainable, that was tangible. And we know that this program is efficient because we see it being demonstrated by other organizations, by other groups, under a different name, of course. But yet and still, for those who know, and for those that, again, who are astute and familiar with the teachings of our Prophet, we'll be able to recognize that truth is but one.
That's right.
And that customs do not alter the nature of truth. Islam? I want us to go to the back of our Quran questions, and I'm going to read in part our authority. It is said that our Prophet, Noble Ali, had to file only one document. That is the affidavit, our authority in Cook County, Illinois, stating who we were. And I want to share with you again a portion of that, and just unfold, what our Prophet is revealing to us. Islam? It says, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to start with I, Noble Ali. I, Noble Ali, recorder, Salomis, I don't want to butcher the name, just Skonovic, Moorish Science Temple of America, held at Chicago in the county of Cook in the state of Illinois on the 20th day of July AD 1928. For that purpose, the following persons were appointed sheiks, according to the rules and usages of such Moorish Science Temple of America. Do solemnly swear that at a meeting of the members of the Noble Drew Ali, Mili-Il, Small Bey, Lovett Bey, and Format Bey, the Moorish Science Temple of America, deriving its power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad. And I want to stop right there in part. So I encourage each and every one of you to get a copy of Hurge Revised Statute chapter 32 and 36. From that, you actually see the template, if you will, of where this formal document was derived from. You see that the same, if not similar, verbiage is switched out from an organization to the proper designations of the officers. In Hurge Revised Statute, it says officers. We have sheiks. It mentions organization, corporation. We have Moorish Science Temple of America. So with those things are different, but the Prophet is establishing who we are. We are a religious organization. And so with us being a religious organization, that gives us certain privileges, having, if you will, the best of both worlds. But it's up to us to study what those privileges, and not only privileges, but what those rights and responsibilities are. Because without, we can't just say we have these privileges and rights as an organization, as a religious organization, and not be aware of our responsibilities as this religious organization as well. He's naming the officers: Noble Drew Ali, Mili-Il, Small Bey, and Lovett Bey, and Forman Bey. Those are the designated officers of the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1928 that were the head at the tippy top. Then it goes on by saying the Moorish Science Temple of America deriving its power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad to propagate the faith and extend the learning. I'm going to stop right there. Again, what is power? We have that demonstration in our Moorish Holy Quran. He says, is this an illusion? But it is, I'm paraphrasing, it's the resort of force.
Right.
It says that the force remains the same, but the power changes as the ethers change. Islam. But our Prophet is telling us that we have access to that force, which gives us that power. And as I mentioned before, when we look at power, we're looking at a concentrated force. So our Prophet is telling us, in order for us to perpetuate this movement, we have to work as a collective. Islam?
Islam.
But he says our power and authority. What is authority? The authority is the freedom to self-define who you are.
Right.
The ability to operate and to pursue prosperity. So what is it about the great Quran of Muhammad which gives us that power and authority? So this is the breakdown, if you will, between we as Moorish Americans, because we at Temple number 19, we know that it's very important that if our Prophet had mentioned the great Quran of Muhammad, that it would behoove us to study, to understand what is it in this text in this revelation of Muhammad alayhi salam, by our Prophet alayhi salam, that we are receiving, you know, where do we get this power and authority? Where do we get the ability to move as a unit, and also the right to define ourselves? It's in that text, it's in that book.
Yes, sir.
And it also says to propagate the faith and extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America. Extend the learning, propagate the faith. So he's giving us a charge. Our Prophet Noble Drew Ali is giving us a charge, saying that members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, it is our duty to propagate the faith of Muhammad, to extend the learning. That's another word or terminology that gets thrown about casually, if I may. Extend the learning. What does that mean, to extend the learning? Well, to extend anything, you have to start from a base.
That's right.
Islam?
Islam.
So if I'm extending my hand, I'm extending it from the body.
Islam.
So our Prophet is saying that when we extend the learning, it's important for us to have the foundation on, you know, from which we can extend from. It doesn't mean just take a concept from the Prophet that we've read in passing and just run with it. It doesn't mean that we are to just read the Moorish Holy Quran once and just be frivolous in, you know, in our follow-up and unfolding what that means without constantly going back to this literature.
Right.
To extend the learning is to actually be an extension of our Prophet.
Islam.
And then again, when you learn, we have to remember that our people, we learn and we learn by example.
That's right.
So it's one thing to teach someone that you're not Negro, black, and colored. It's one to teach someone that you're a Moorish American and that Allah is the creator and that we are a spirit and a part of Allah. But to learn it,
Right.
that comes from constant repetition.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It comes from constant remembrance of Allah and our forefathers.
Islam.
Islam?
Sheik.
Extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America, and to appoint, consecrate missionaries of the prophet, and to establish the faith of Muhammad in America.
Islam.
To extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America. Ali is just another way of saying Allah. Who was the great prophet of Allah in America? Prophet Noble Drew Ali, alayhi salam.
Praise the Lord.
And to appoint and consecrate missionaries. When you appoint someone, it's not by election, by selection of Allah. And how can you be appointed? How do you go about being appointed? By way of your works.
Teach one.
Act 7 says, in our divine constitution and bylaws, members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful.
Islam.
So, when we come into the Moorish Science Temple of America, we believe, we think perhaps that what our prophet is given to us is truth. And then through proper study and repetition and continue to study again and again and again, and starting to see what the prophet is giving us. Because one thing we think that we know. And again, that's that demonstration that our Sister Secretary was talking about, the insufficiency of knowledge.
Islam.
So again, that comes with saying, okay, well, what is our prophet saying? And believe it or not, what I'm saying is not deep. But it comes with saying that we are an organization, and the organization is giving a set of rules and regulation by which we operate. Standard operating procedures, SOP. Those who play sports, those who play basketball and football, we can't just go out there and just throw the ball and pass the ball. There's a playbook. And we have to, and in order for us to not ride the bench, not ride the pine, to get splinters, we study the playbook.
That's right, Sheik.
And then we get to that next level where we become either the sixth man or we start. It's the same concept in being the faithful.
Islam.
Prove yourself worthy of being one of the faithful. So now again, I ask you, ponder this more. What does it mean by appoint and consecrate missionaries? And when you consecrate something, that's sacred.
That's right.
So when the sheiks deem it fit to appoint you as a missionary of the Prophet of Allah in America, that means you're approving your works.
Islam.
That means that you've become the mu'minun, become the faithful,
That's right.
and that you see the fruition. You dream about it.
Islam.
That means it's in your psyche. It's embedded in your blood because you know it without a shadow of a doubt. You can see it just like it's across the street.
Yeah. True.
That's what we want to be at as members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Each and every one of us are missionaries in our own right.
That's Islam.
But we want to be able to see it. We want to be able to close our eyes and see what that end result is. We want to see that fruition. We want to walk with the prophet.
That's right.
And the best way to walk with the prophet is to see how he maneuvers, to study his words. I was listening to a lecture on success, and one of the elements of success, he says, wherever you want to be at in your life, whether it be financially, economically, socially, so on and so forth, take on a mentor. And if you can't take on a mentor, then read up on somebody that you admire.
That's right.
And we all admire our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because we all are here today. We all are here because we think that our condition can be better.
That's right.
So now that we've taken that first step, now it's time to get that momentum going. Islam?
Islam.
To appoint and consecrate missionaries of the Prophet and to establish the faith of Muhammad in America. So we're consecrating, we're making it sacred. We're appointing brothers and sisters that have a mission to establish the faith of Muhammad. The sacred mission.
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
It's important that we recognize that. This is our charge.
That's right.
We have many responsibilities. And of course, we're not thinking that one person or even two or three can take on that responsibility alone. It's up to us again as a collective to establish that understanding, to get the ball rolling and to maintain that momentum. You can't lose step. You can't lose focus. We're in the carnal plane. We're in the cares of the world. So in the cares of the world, we have that demonstration in our Moorish, or our Quran questions rather, where it's the water, it's the waves. It's unpredictable.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that it's necessarily a bad thing or evil thing.
Right.
But we have to be prepared for which way the waves crash and turn. Islam?
Islam.
That's all that I have today. I want to keep it simple. I'll do.
Islam.
We want to be in harmony with the creation of Allah, with ourselves.
Mhm.
So with that, look to your brother or your sister. When it says, know thyself and thy Father God Allah, we're not just talking about that individual. We're talking about knowing the brother and the sister that sit next to you.
There you go. That's right.
Because you're seeing a reflection of yourself.
Islam.
The reflection is the business of man.
Mhm.
Islam.
Islam.